Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. It is that time again where we're going to go ahead and do a top 10 projects on Wax list for January 2024. It's been a little while since I've done this, so let me go ahead and give the caveats before we really jump into it. This is my personal opinion. It's not meant to be any advice or any guidance. Just use it as kind of a reference to see if it's something that you may want to take a look into it and then do your own research before you jump into any project. Well, I have a full disclaimer here in a second, but I wanted to start with that one. Also, what this list is focusing on, it is focused on gameplay and entertainment. This is a gamer providing a list for gamers. This is not investment advice by any means. This is not focused on volume. This is not focused on someone's copycat list from someone else where they just kind of put some games in there that they've never really played. I've played just about every game on Wax at some point throughout the last 2.5 years. I am going through a full process where I'm going to review the updated versions of all this lists. I know I mentioned this a number of times. Do game reviews on all of them over the next 3 months. But I wanted to make sure that you're understanding that the focus of this list is really gameplay as of right this second. Games that I've played and that I want to go ahead and rank them. This list will probably adjust a bit over the next 3 months as I really go in and play the updated version on every game in Wax. But as of right now, I think this is a solid list for gamers that are looking for a new game that's really focused around the gameplay, not necessarily the volume or transactions or number of active accounts. Well, you can't see me, but I did a quote mark there. So we're going to go ahead and go through that list. I'm going to give you my top 10 for January 2024. I'm also going to give you 2 games that you want to go ahead and really keep an eye on because they're going to really, I think, pop during 2024. And then an honorable mention one that we'll talk about that just missed the top 10, but I still think it's a solid game, so I wanted to go ahead and mention it. Before we jump into the video, I know I have to do everyone's least favorite part of the video and let you know this disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please make sure you do your own research before you jump into any project. Don't take my word or anything that's said in this video as financial advice or advice in any way. I'm just a gamer playing a game and reviewing games as part of this. I am not telling you to jump into any project or anything along those lines. Do your own research. Make sure it's right for you. Go ahead and pause this video and read this thoroughly before we jump into it. All right, so let's get back to the video. All right, let's start talking about the first 2 items of this one. The first 2 games projects that are fairly new, if not brand new, still in the development stage. One is in the alpha, the closed alpha, and the other one is in the solid development. These are games to watch in the future. They're not yet ready for the list for the top 10, but I have a sneaking suspicion that they have what it takes in order to make it onto the top 10 in the future. So I wanted to go ahead and throw that out there to keep an eye on these games. First game is Oxia Origin. I've talked about this a number of times on my Wax Gamely weekly recaps. They are currently in the closed alpha phase. They are going to be moving to closed beta here shortly. I do have a key and I do have keys to give away, so check out my Discord. And what we're going to do is once this is available to go ahead and test, we're going to go ahead and test it. It is the space genre, open world, 3D shooter style, adventure exploring style game. So it's not a straight first-person shooter. It's not a straight exploring style. It's a combination of a bunch of them, as you can see from their video that they have going on here. So it is a lot of first-person shooter, which I'm not the greatest at, but I think everything around this game wrapped up together, I think is going to be something you want to check out here in the near future. Encourage you to go ahead and check out their Discord. I'm not going to dive into too much of the detail right now because once I get access to the game, I'm going to do a full review on it so I can give you all that information. Just something to keep an eye on in the future. The second one on the list is Machiavellic. This one I've also mentioned a number of times, but really wanted to highlight it in here. It is still in the development stage. It has a really long roadmap, as you can see here, which is actually a good thing. I know most people on Wax want things tomorrow, if not yesterday. But the longer the development and roadmap and the more detailed and all the features that they're going to be rolling out with this, I think is an advantage for the game, because you don't want one of those that's just going to be around here tomorrow with full features, because most likely they're done developing. They have a big future ahead of them. They're also in the space genre, open world style game where you can go ahead and really develop your character throughout the world. And they have a lot of partners. They're partnered and collabed with FGL, which is bringing them to the Wax community. And then they have a number of other projects that they're collaborating with. So lots of interesting things to come with this. Again, I'm not going to dive into too much detail because I'm going to do some full reviews once I have some more information around it. The one date that you should be aware of, if you have one of the officers, they are opening up boarding coming up here in mid-February, February 15th. Which you'll get first access to the game. Again, not sure 100% what's going to be involved in that, other than there's going to be some mini games following it. But they're over the next year or so, something you want to keep an eye out as far as the development process goes with this. All right, those are the two games that you want to kind of keep an eye on here in the future. They're not ready for it yet, but they got some good things going on with them. The next project I'm going to go ahead and cover, this is an honorable mention. This is a game that just missed the top 10, but I think it has a very solid game base, so it's worth mentioning. And that one you're all familiar with is Realm. Realm is a great resource style balancing strategy game where you're kind of trying to not necessarily take over the world, but really manage the world and be as successful as possible. This is a game where you're going to have a seasonal approach. They're roughly about 12-week seasons, and you're trying to do a number of different things. The main thing you're trying to do is get as high as you possibly can on the leaderboard with the tier that you're in to get some rewards for it. Plus, like I said, it's a very fun strategy game. If you like strategy games, you may want to take a closer look at this one. Again, not quite high enough on my list to make it in the top 10 because there hasn't been a ton of development with it over the last year. But I keep hearing snippets that there's something that's coming. There's something that's coming for it. I just don't know any of the details around it, so I can't put it in the top 10 right now, but it's a solid game. All right, let's start talking about the top 10 itself. First and foremost, what I wanted to mention here on the list is a game that I just started getting into a little bit. It used to be Colonize Mars. It is now called Thrive on Mars. They have an awesome backstory for it. They're doing some really neat things as far as in collaboration with the gameplay that goes along with this. Just to give you some background on the game if you're not familiar with it. Essentially, a community is going to Mars to colonize on Mars and really thrive. I know I'm playing with the words a little bit there, but you're really doing it. It's a resource management strategy game. You're going out there really trying to simulate your own community on Mars and really trying to balance out the resources so everybody is thriving as much as possible, plus gaining up as high as possible, building out different things. And then you're also working as a community with other players that are out there. They also have a number of things that are going to be coming here in 2024 that I can't quite mention yet. But it's a very interesting game. Again, I just started playing it a few days ago. I've played it in the past on and off, but I really wanted to get back into it because I really like the storyline and what's coming ahead with it. So I jumped back into it. More to come on this. I'm actually going to do a full gameplay review on it. But it's a very detailed resource strategy style game, resource balancing. It's fun to play. It's been fun to play so far. So I had this one as number 10 on my list right now. So let's go ahead and move on to number 9. And number 9 is more of a studio overall project, not necessarily an individual item, and that is Wombat in general. And I do have Wombat Dungeon Masters focused here, but this is really for the overall program that they have there, and I think they're doing some neat things. If I just focused on Dungeon Masters, it would not be on the top 10 list here. But the fact that they are now in control of Atomic Hub and they're really running with that, I think that's going to be a very positive impact to the overall Wax community. They also have WAM Play, which I think they should definitely focus quite a bit on. Dungeon Masters is a bit of a clicker, but it does have some strategy there. Dungeon Worlds is going to be fun once that comes out there. So they have a lot of different elements, and both from the utility perspective, and they're also trying to get in the gaming side of the house. So that's the main reason that they're here number 9 on the list. I'm curious once Dungeon Worlds comes out and they continue to develop the other different branches of Wombat. It has potential to go up higher on the list, but for right now, for January 2024, it is a solid number 9 on the overall list. And following up along with their number 8 is Taco. And this is Taco as a whole, not necessarily individual games. I think individual games may or may not be on the top 10 list, depending on which game you're talking about. But I think as a whole, the utility and the gaming perspective and the overall ecosystem of Taco makes it a solid number 8 for the overall list for Wax projects. Again, I know I'm mostly focused on the entertainment and gameplay side of it, but I can't ignore the utility side of things too. They both have great, Wombat and Taco both have great communities, which also really makes it a lock for the top 10 right now for on Wax, because it's everything together. It's not the individual pieces. Overall, it's the utility and the gameplay that go along with it. Then number 7 on the list, this is one that's actually slid since the last one I did. And I know it's been about 6 months since I did one of these lists. This one slid a bit, and it has a very good chance of bouncing right back to its where it was before. And this is Forged Arena. And the main thing with Forged Arena is they're going through a huge update and upgrade process within the game, moving up to Unreal 5. So this has a solid potential of jumping right back into the top 3. It's just from my personal perspective. Anyone that's looking at this list, I could see them putting Forged Arena anywhere from 7 up to 1, depending on the style of game that you like. If you're a first-person shooter style game on the Wax blockchain, this is the game to take a look at. If you're not a first-person shooter, you may rank it like I do, number 7 here. It's a very solid game that has the potential of jumping back up there. I just think there's some other games that are out there that I enjoy playing a little bit more. So again, full transparency, there is a little bit of a bias just because of the style of games I like to play. But I could see Forged Arena being anywhere from 7 up to 1, depending on your style of play. So just be aware of that. But there are some major updates happening here in Forged Arena that you should also keep an eye on, because I think they're going to actually really improve the game as they continue to develop. Next on the list is a solid game that has something huge coming out here in a few weeks, and that is Nova Pangia. If you're not familiar with Nova Pangia, I suggest you jump into the community, talk for them a little bit, and just the community alone is a huge asset when it comes to Nova Pangia. There's a love from this community, both for the game itself and also the different people in the community itself. If you're not familiar also with Nova Pangia, it's going to be a resource style management. It's broken up into a number of different realms. Right now, all the realms are relatively the same as far as the resources. Actually, they're all the same as far as the resources go. But as they continue to develop the Nova Pangia game, each realm is going to give you different benefits and different resources, and they're going to have to figure out how to work together or fight against each other. They also have a major update coming out here called Nova War. I'm going to do a separate video on it. It is their PvP arena style, where it's 3 characters against 3 characters, and you're competing against each other for different rewards. That is coming out here shortly. So I could see, depending on how that hits home for playing it, I could see Nova Pangia actually moving up the list, especially for those that love the arena style PvP style game. I just don't have access. Well, I don't have. It's not in the game yet, not in the main the main net production side of it. So I can't comment too much on it because a lot of things are still changing with it. But that is coming out here in a few weeks. They're actually having the pack sale in about a week from now, and the actual release of it will be shortly after that. So that's why Nova Pangia right now is number 6 on the list. Great potential moving up with PvP. So next on the list, this is one for those that love card games. For those that love PvP style card games, this is Warsaken. This is one that's been out there for a while. It used to be in the top 3 for mine. Again, a little bit of my bias. I have not had a chance to play Warsaken yet. So this is my caveat here. I've played every other game on this list except for Warsaken, and it's just haven't had the chance to yet. But I will be in here in the next few weeks. I'll be going ahead and grabbing a few packs and testing it out. So the February list will allow me to kind of put this in a better spot maybe based on my personal opinion. So I wanted to throw that out there. But I know there's a lot of people that absolutely love this game. It's fun to watch on streams. So that's why I wanted to put here straight in the middle of the list at number 5. Once I have a chance to go ahead and play it, I'll rank it a little bit better. But if you like card games, this is, from my understanding, the top card game on Wax right now, especially from the PvP style. This may be number 1 for you. For me right now, it's at number 5. But we'll see how that continues to adjust as I'm playing all the different games over the next few months. Check it out. Again, it's a war genre, card style game. And go ahead and check it out. If you want to see more about this, there's a ton of people that stream it. And then I'll eventually, again, have a gameplay review video out here for it. Next on the list, now we're shifting from the card, first-person shooter, utility style. We're getting into the gameplay, the things that I actually sit down almost on a daily basis and think to myself, what games do I want to play? These are some of the 4 that pop out right away. Starting out with a pixel-based arcade-style approach, and we're talking about Pixon. Pixon is they actually have a number of different games. They're very low entry point style games. They are pixel based and they're arcade style. They're fun to play. Something that if you're looking just to do it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they work great with a controller. Lots of fun to go ahead and play. They have Dread Wager and a few other games. Let me scroll down here to give you some looks of it. I'll actually probably put up here some actual gameplay of me playing the game. But they have a number of different games out there that you can go ahead and test out, and they are developing almost constantly. So if you're looking for like a pixel-based arcade style game, this right now is the best pixel-based game on the Wax blockchain, or I should say the studio. They're developing the best pixel-based games. There are some other pixel-based games that are coming out here in the near future, so we'll see how those all develop. But right now, January 2024, Pixon is without a doubt the number 1 out of all those, and it's number 4 on my overall Wax list. Now we're going to go ahead and move into the top 3, and one of these has been in the top 3 before recently. The other 2 have shifted up here as I continue to play over the last 6 months. First one we got here is NFT Battle Miners, and more specifically for NFT Battle Miners, it's more around the Shadow of the Depth side. If you're not familiar with NFT Battle Miners, it's actually broken into 2 separate sections right now. The first section is more of the mining section where you get some miners, you get some land, and it's really more of a passive style with a caveat because you still have to do some work in there to make sure that your areas don't revolt. But essentially, it's more of the mining style. You stake them. They kind of run a little bit by themselves and passive with miner interaction. But the more fun side, the side that I really enjoy and I've done so many videos on, is the Shadow Depth side. The Shadow Depth side is a seasonal based game where you are trying to go out there and you run missions. You're both defeating enemies, and now they have PvP in there where you're actually attacking other clones. You got to gather resources to be able to continue to move forward. They have a battle pass where you can go ahead and get seasonal rewards. They also have a leaderboard. If you rank high enough on the leaderboard, you're going to go ahead and get some great rewards from it. It's a very addictive game for me. I've played it for the last couple seasons. I definitely log in there multiple times a day to play. It's just a fun style. There are some points where it does get grindy. Maybe that's the reason why it hasn't gotten to number 1 yet. But there's a lot of great things that go along with Shadow Depths and the overall NFT Battle Miners. They're also continuing to work on it. They have an alchemy expansion that's coming out here shortly for the mining side of it, the NFT Battle Miner side of it. So that's coming out here shortly, and every single season they add something cool to it. So I'm really looking forward to see what they continue to develop here for both NFT Battle Miners plus the Shadow Depth portion of it. The next on the list is a studio. Number 2 on the list is actually FGL Studio, and there's a reason around FGL Studio being on there. I am a huge fan of studios that put multiple games out there that allow you to, one, use the same token throughout the games, and they allow you to share NFTs or utilize NFTs across multiple games. For example, with FGL, and if you're playing Outlaw Troopers, you can use NFTs from Mecha World, you can use NFTs from Cosmic Clash, and they really boost up your system, and vice versa. In Cosmic Clash, you can use the Mega Quits from Outlaw Troopers that just help kind of bring all the games together. So this isn't specifically for one game, this is for the overall studio. And to add to all this, Machiavellic, the one that I mentioned that is on the must-watch list from earlier in this video, that is also a collaboration from FGL. So that's being brought to you by FGL. That was initially a Cardano game, but they were working with FGL to bring it into the Wax blockchain. So there's a lot of different games that go along with this. Again, Outlaw Troopers, I log into on a daily basis. That is a seasonal game where it's more of a resource management, encounter, battling style game. You also have the Cosmic Clash, which is a straight up arena style space genre battle game. Mecha World is more of an exploration style game, and then Machiavellic, and then they also have Blockchain Heroes, which is out there, and eventually they're going to have Nifty Fish, I think it's called, and many other games that are coming out here from FGL. So again, this is similar to Wombat and Taco, where it is the over-encompassing studio projects that are a lot of fun and they connect well together, and that's why they rank number 2 on the list. So number 1 on this list should not be a surprise. This is my favorite game by far on the Wax blockchain, and really any blockchain, to be honest with you right now. There's a few other games and other blockchains that I enjoy playing as much as I enjoy playing number 2 and number 3 on this list. But Avalon, the game, is, I think, the number 1 game out of all blockchains for me personally. This is an open world fantasy style game. They are still technically in alpha. Beta is right around the corner. They have a lot to the game already within just alpha, and I'm really excited to see what happens here in beta. I've done many videos on Avalon. I can't talk enough about Avalon. We'll be here for hours if I really start diving through all the details. But Avalon is without a doubt my favorite, both from a gameplay, also from a potential in the future game. So if you like World of Warcraft style games, the open world fantasy style MMORPGs, I would take a closer look at Avalon. I just released an updated gameplay review that's focused on the alpha side. Once we have access to the beta side, I'll go ahead and do some full videos on that so you're aware of what's going on there. It's just a fun overall game, and you're probably seeing it on the screen right now. It's just some interactions in the game as far as some battles, multiplayer battles. There are no other games on the Wax blockchain where you can have multiplayer battles, actual 3D style. You can go ahead and get flying mounts, riding mounts. You can go ahead and really battle raid and all that fun stuff. You run on quests, you get NFT rewards. It's just a lot of fun from both. Like this game, I think, can compete with mainstream games as they continue to develop. It's still a little raw. It's still alpha. I get that. But in the future, as they continue to develop, it's something I think can compete with the mainstream style games. And they just there's just a lot of cool things that are going on with it. Again, I don't want to ramble on it because I don't want this video to go too much longer. But I do have a number of other videos that are focused on Avalon, the game, which is number 1 on my list. So let's quickly go back down through the top 10. Number 1 on the list is Avalon. Number 2 is FGL Studios as a whole. Number 3 is NFT Battle Miners. Number 4 is going to be Pixon. Number 5 is Warsaken. Number 6 is Nova Pangia. Number 7 is Forged Arena. Number 8 is Taco as a whole from both the utility and the gameplay perspective. Same with number 9 is Wombat from a utility and gameplay perspective. And number 10 on my list right now is Thrive on Mars as we continue to kind of feel this one out. Again, as far as honorable mention goes, Realm is on the honorable mentions, and 2 games to keep an eye on throughout 2024. That's Machiavellic and Oxia Origin. Please, in the comments down below, let me know what you think, what games you're excited about, and which ones would you shift on my list? Would you add anything? Would you shift any around? Let me know. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.